Watch the ride.
Hey everybody, hope you're all doing alright out there. So, to some of you this won't be new information, but maybe you don't know what the difference is, and maybe you've never seen it actually applied to a screw on a bike to see what the difference is. Now these screwdrivers may look like, you know, Phillips or crosshead screwdrivers, look the same. And they are very close to being the same, but they are not the same. These ones are Phillips, otherwise known as PH. These ones are Japanese Industrial Standard. And if you own a motorcycle, which is Japanese, you really should own a set of these. Now, I will say here, 90% of the time, you know, a Phillips is going to do the job and you're not going to have a problem. But there is one particular screw that I have in mind which wants to get stripped. Before I get onto the Japanese Industrial Standard, I need to cover obviously the differences between the most common screws you find in the UK at least, Phillips and Posy drive. Phillips is a crosshead. The Posy drive is slightly different because it's got these little extra cutouts in the screw and a piece in the screwdriver that's supposed to aid gripping the screw head better. And it also ends up having a slightly different shape in the bottom of the screw head. But no, a Phillips will look like this, plain with a cross. Posy drive has these lines to denote this is a Posy drive. Easy to see with your eye, and it's easy to see on the screwdrivers. This one here on the left is a Phillips. As you can see, we've got that groove that goes through it, classic Phillips shape. And on this side you can see that little triangle between each set of blades, splines, whatever you want to call them. That is Posy drive. So these will be marked with PZ and a number. Phillips is marked with PH. Okay, so Phillips versus JIS. There is a slight difference you can see in the cut, the way it forms down the sides, but one of the main things is that the inside radius of the Phillips is kind of like, you know, it's filled in, whereas on the JIS it's a deeper cut, and that's why these screws look very, very, you know, cross-shaped, whereas in the Phillips has got that sort of filled in portion in the middle. So in making this video I've also just noticed the fact that these screwdrivers which Halfords sell, I mean they don't say it's for motoring, but it is Halfords, these are actually Posy drive screwdrivers. They've got the cuts in. Now these work in Phillips no problem, most of the time. I've never noticed a difference using a Phillips and a Posy drive, having one like jump out or anything like that, but I'm sure, well, there's a difference. It's going to fit better if you use the right screwdriver head, and that's the point that we'll get onto here. If you use a Phillips in a JIS head, because it has this filled in part on the screwdriver, your screwdriver never ever sits down into the screw properly, and you never get full contact, which is the really important thing. And what ends up happening is that the screwdriver does a thing called camming out, where with the pressure of you trying to turn it, oh shit, sorry, I'm going to get rid of this. Sorry, it's better to have a darker background for exposure. As you try and turn it, it's going to lift out, and as it does that, it strips the head off the screw. Now, there is a very specific place where that happens a lot on motorcycles because they get stuck, and because you're using a screwdriver of this size that doesn't fit the screw properly. And I'll say, for 16 years of riding and tinkering with bikes, I have used Phillips, and I have messed a few screws up, and I've messed a couple of these screws up doing this exact thing, and I spent all this time without buying a set of the JIS screwdrivers. Now, I bought these with my own money, but I will make it clear here, the link I have in the description is an affiliated one. But this set of 4 JIS screwdrivers, assuming they work, and we're going to test it on a screw in a minute, these cost £10, like 15 for all 4. They seem really nicely made. They don't seem any worse than my Halfords Professionals. Nice soft part of rubber here, not really soft, but it's got a bit of give to it. Hard plastic here, nice grip for your hand, like good feeling strong metal. The machining looks okay, they're magnetised. Like £2.50 a screwdriver, you cannot go wrong. So as I say, the difference between the two visually is very small, but the fit is a big difference, and I'm hoping I'm going to see that with these screwdrivers. I'm also going to tell you how you can tell the difference between a JIS and a Phillips screw on a motorcycle, because they have a marking you've probably never noticed. You may have already guessed which screw on a motorcycle I was referring to. Brake master cylinder reservoir cap screws. I've cracked my macro lens out for this. The way you tell a Japanese industry standard or JIS screw is, can you see there is a dot right there? That one dot next to the crosshead tells you what it is. So we're going to see about fitment now with these screwdrivers. So with a small Phillips, put it in, can see there's movement left to right, just directly down, and side to side, you know, we're all over the place. The larger screwdriver from Phillips, although these actually technically are Posy drives, as I've just realised, less side to side. I wouldn't be too worried about undoing it with that because I can feel the top of the screwdriver is actually not moving side to side much, but it's still got loads of movement around. So hopefully, in theory, if what they say is true, these should fit better. I don't know which one's going to be a better fit. Right, so the smaller one, I'm going to say I don't feel a huge amount of difference. Okay, so let's try the larger one. Up. There you go. Right, there is no movement side to side, and that is all I can do in moving it. I know that might not seem hugely different from your view, but trust me, the handle, because obviously over the length it extends more, with the Phillips I'm waving 4 or 5 inches side to side. With this is ½ inch to 1 inch. That is a proper fit, and I have never felt a screwdriver fit one of those screws quite that well. I mean, it's just, yeah, look. With this screwdriver, I was getting this amount of sort of movement around of that screw. Oh, don't knock the lens over. With this one, it literally was doing this over this distance. It was such a better fit. Now, as I say, I've spent 16 years working on bikes and I have never owned a set of these screwdrivers, and I haven't had too many problems, but I have stripped a few screws that I now know having one of these probably wouldn't have caused that screw to strip. There are 4 sizes, oh, there were 4 sizes of JIS, 1, 2, 3 and 4. And they have since made a 0 or maybe a 00, I can't remember exactly. The history actually of JIS is long and complicated. There isn't just one JIS standard, it kind of evolved over time. And I believe the current one we have was decided in 1985, and that's the one they've been using ever since, I believe, which would make it 38 years old as a technology. So, through my testing, I'm happy that I purchased these screwdrivers. I am blown away that for £2.50 I've managed to get a set, because in the past I never got them, because whenever I looked, a single screwdriver was like 20 quid, and it was like, well, yeah, it will save you money in the long run, but now sets like this seem to be available, and they seem to be correct, because I've just shown you how much better that fitted than this Posy drive that Halfords sell for you to use on your cars and bikes. Because as far as I know, Posy drive generally is used in like wood screws and metal sheet screws and stuff like that, not car stuff, but you know, stuff with a lot of torque factor. But yeah, but there we go. I've learned something here. Hopefully you've learned something. As I say, link in the description to my Amazon store where you can buy a set of these, and that will give me a kickback if you do that. Don't worry if you don't want to. Carry on using your Phillips and just be careful. But I will say that when it comes to doing those, you know, the master cylinder top caps, if you stick one of these in there and it's tight, you're more likely going to grind the head of the screw off than you are to get it out, and then that's an absolute nightmare versus 10 quid and you got them. I'm glad I bought them. Don't worry, I'm not preaching here. Obviously, as I said, I haven't had a set for 16 years and I'm kicking myself. Anyway, as I say, hopefully you found that interesting or useful. Hit the like button if you did. Subscribe if you'd like to see lots more stuff like this, motorcycle reviews and all sorts of stuff motorcycle related. And if you'd like to help support this channel, please consider doing that through Patreon. I would really appreciate it. You can also order a sticker or a keychain from my Etsy store. Until the next one, bye bye.